I hate taking thumbnails when I don't have books to hold up. Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm bringing you my, what month is it? April wrap up. Sorry, this is very late. This is well over a week late. I always like to have this filmed and up a lot earlier than this, but life happened. I've been very, very busy between my daughter's softball games, which we are doing softball at least 3 days a week, sometimes 4. And she plays for a neighboring city because the one that we live in didn't have enough girls her age for her age bracket. So she had a choice to either not play this year or play for the neighboring town. We chose that. So it's not like everything's right here where I can go drop her off at practice, come home, go pick her up in 2 hours. I have to drive her over there, sit for the 2 hours, and then come back. So my reading to start May, have I finished anything? No, I have not. So no, I finished one. I finished one book so far in May, and we're already at what, May 12th? Which is unusual considering my reading habits the last couple of months. I've been really reading a lot and enjoying it. But I think I just got burnt out after the end of April. And with her softball and being so fucking busy all the time, plus my work schedule has been really crazy the last couple of weeks. Haven't been sleeping well. So much so that my body pretty much said, fuck you, we're done. And for the past week and a half, my whole body has ached like I have a fever, but I don't have a fever. I don't have COVID. I don't have anything like that. But my neck has been out for an entire week. So I've had a nonstop headache for a week and a half. I've had all over body aches, so much so that it hurts to walk for the last week and a half. So yesterday, the 11th, Wednesday, was my Friday. I worked a graveyard, took a 4-hour nap when I got home, worked a graveyard after only having 1 hour of sleep prior. So, because Danielle had a softball game and we didn't get home till 9:30 at night and I had to be at work at midnight. So I had about an hour of sleep, worked a full shift, came home, took a 4-hour nap, and I was like, okay, I have the house to myself. I should film. I should get everything ready to go. Smut Den readathon starts tonight. You've got shit you need to do. I laid in bed all day watching murder shows and barely moved. So I got a full night's sleep last night. I'm feeling a little better today. Smut Den starts today. So I was like, okay, you need to film, you need to edit, you need to get this uploaded because you are a week fucking late. And I don't have any books to hold up because everything I read was on audio and none that I own. Well, I guess I owned one because in the middle of the month while reading, Melissa was kind and sent me the first in the series that I binged in the month of April. So let's get started on the books. I don't want this to be too long. I'm sorry in advance for all of you who do not give a shit about dark romance or smut. That's what all of these books are. I was in a hole. So that's where we're at. I'm going to try to get through these rather quickly. So let's go. Okay, so first on this list, first book I finished in April, on April Fool's Day, and this was not a joke. I read this in one sitting, was The Dragon's Bride by Katie Roberts. So this was kind of ended up being one of those ones where somebody had brought it up and was like, oh, you guys should read this while we were on sprints with the late night crew. And I was like, I'll read it. And they're like, what? And so I read it during the sprints. I paid $5 for it, which pissed me off because within 2 or 3 weeks later, it was free on Kindle Unlimited. I was so pissed because I paid $5 for it. This is a dark monster romance. Clearly, the male on the picture, he's a dragon, actual dragon. He has scales. He does not have a male face. It's not like Planet Barbarians where the aliens are blue and yeah, they have only 3 big toes and they have the horns and stuff like that. Their chests are male. Their penises are very much human. Their faces are still human-like. No, this guy, he's a dragon. He has scales. He has claws. He has the whole 9 yards. And he has 2 dicks. Two. And there is a art that was done online of the 2 of them having sex, where you can see the 2 dicks and dear God. Yeah, so rabbit hole on this one. I was like, okay, well, I'll read it. This is going to be funny, if nothing else. I just got to see what this is about. Hearing all of the chatter about there being 2 dicks, that the dragon has 2 penises, and that, it's a monster romance. I'm like, okay, fine. So I paid the $5 and I read it. What did I give it? 2 stars or 3 stars? I gave it 3. I was generous. Mel, Cassidy, and and Rachel all ended up reading it as well. After or with me. I think it was after me. I can't remember. Maybe partial, whatever. They read it also. They all gave it 2 stars, I believe. I actually found this kind of enjoyable. So the whole plot of this story, and this is a series, I think it's going to be 4 or 5 books. The whole plot is at the very beginning, the female, I can't remember her name. Is it Rose? I can't remember her fucking name. Briar Rose. Okay, so I was close. Briar Rose, which I was like, seriously, like, that's Aurora. Okay. Which I guess if you want to get super deep, you know, Maleficent turns into a dragon at the end of Sleeping Beauty. Spoilers for Sleeping Beauty. But, okay, her name's Briar Rose. She's in this, like, hotel, and she's talking to this guy who's clearly a demon. And it gave me supernatural vibes because it's like a crossroads demon where he makes a deal with you for your soul, pretty much. And she is in a very, very, very abusive marriage. Like, he beats the shit out of her, and he said the next time he would kill her if she tried to leave. Stuff like that. Very abusive. So she makes a deal with this demon that if he gets rid of her husband, the deal is she has to spend 7 years in his realm, which in Earth years is only like 2 months, maybe. So it's not very long, but it'll be 7 years. So she'll feel the 7 years, but when she comes back, she will have only aged the 2 months. She won't have aged the 7 years. That's the deal he makes. She feels like she's got no other choice. She doesn't want to die, so she makes the deal. You don't see the demon kill the husband, but it's implied heavily. So she goes to this realm, and she's in this room where she has to pick out a dress for herself to wear. The demon's like, pick out a dress. She doesn't know what's going on. And her and some other women walk out onto this stage. They're all wearing different colored dresses that are all really pretty or whatever. And they're standing there, and they realize they're being auctioned off. And so, like, first I'm like, what is this? You know, what do you mean they're being auctioned off? So these women are being auctioned off to these different monsters who live in this realm, this world where their worlds all border each other, like their lands. So she's picked by the dragon. I can't remember his name. But there is other monsters also. There's a kraken who is literally sitting in a tub of water. So there's a kraken, there's a gargoyle, there's the dragon, and there's a succubus, female, and then the demon himself. So that's what all the books are going to be. It's dragon, kraken, gargoyle, succubus, and then the demon who made the deal with her herself will have a romance as well. So which you can tell who the demon picked because somebody tried to pick her and he said, no, not her. So anyway, Briar Rose gets picked by the dragon. So she has to go back with him and live in his like big, huge castle. There is rules to this. So, I mean, everything's pretty strict, like, which I appreciate Katie Robert for that because so it makes consent very much a thing. She has to marry him. That's part of her deal with him. And there's one other creature where marriage has to happen because according to the dragon, his family or whatever, or their realm, they marry humans on occasion to like reproduce because it ups their magic. Like for some reason, mating with humans ups their magic. There's humans who come to this world all the time. The demon brings them like as part of their deals, and they move around realm to realm, sleeping with all these different monsters, and then they go back and it's fine. This is more different where she has to marry him. The only thing is that he cannot force her to have sex. He cannot force her to fall in love with him or make any kind of stipulation like that. They do get married, but he cannot force anything on her. It has to be her choice. So that I like. Of course, you know, immediately, like, she's horny for him. Like, blah, I mean, it's a romance, a dark romance. That's how it's going to be. It does touch on her abuse quite a bit. The dragon is very... he's in tune to that. He can tell that she has some trauma, and he's very gentle with her about that. It wasn't bad. Like, the smut wasn't bad. I like the world building, like the small world building that Katie Robert did with the demon bringing people in, the humans in, and the different worlds and how we're going to get pieces of each. She actually was given a pendant to wear that as she wore this, and like the demon's minions check on her often to make sure the dragon hasn't broken his deal with the demon, that she is well taken care of, that she's not being abused. So, I mean, it's not she's a slave and she has to do whatever. She just has to live there for 7 years. Nothing is required of her besides having to marry the dragon. She doesn't have to have sex with him. She doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to do. Everything is on her terms, which I appreciated. Of course, it didn't take her long to jump into bed with him, but it's one of those things where she had this pendant which prevented pregnancy. So she could take it off if she wanted to. If she wanted to get pregnant with his child, you know, or offspring, whatever, she could take the pendant off. But under no circumstance could he take it off of her without her verbal permission. If he tried, it wouldn't come off. It's kind of like one of those things. Of course, he does take it off at one point with her permission, but it's towards the end. I don't know. It was good. It was good. Like, it was okay. I mean, I wish there was more world building. There's a lot of smut. This is a size difference thing. So if that's a trigger for you, obviously he's a dragon. He's a lot bigger than her. Therefore, his penises are rather large. Like, yeah, there is no DP if that's something you don't like or worried about. And Katie Robert expressly said because he is so large, it would literally rip her to shreds. So she wasn't about that. That's not what this romance was. So it's not, there's no DP. Those of you who were looking for tail action in Planet Barbarians, there is a tail scene in this one. If that's something you're into, I feel awkward talking about this because this is a very dark, niche, monster over here romance. And I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. It was interesting. Yeah. So I gave it 3 stars. I will continue. The next book is The Kraken, and it comes out in October. Cassidy's all about the Kraken because tentacles, but anyways, let's move on. Okay, after that, I read Planet Barbarians number 6, Barbarian's Mate. And then also right after that, Barbarian's Touch, which is number 7 by Ruby Dixon. I don't remember much about these because they all kind of ran together. I was still, or was it 7 and 8? It's 7 and 8. Either way, I've read through a good chunk of them. They were both, I think they were both 3 stars. Yeah, Barbarian's Mate was 3 stars and Barbarian's Touch was also 3 stars. They weren't bad. The last one, which answered my question from the other ones, like, hey, they're running out of girls. And in the last one, the number 8, they ran out of there was the last girl was mated that was left from the original crash. Something happened with her where she found the crash ship again and there was more women in stasis. So that's where we're going to get, I think there's 5 or 6 more women. So this is how the story continues. So they were good. Average 3 stars, easy reads. Smut is always good in the Planet Barbarians series. I don't remember exactly how I felt about the women in those 2 books. The women all kind of run together a little bit. There's good representation for some, like the one that had the deaf representation, which was really good. Let's see. Okay, so Barbarian's Mate was Hayden and was it Josie? Josie was kind of annoying. Hayden I liked. He was it's a kind of a grumpy sunshine where Josie is kind of annoying and upbeat all the time and can't wait to resonate with somebody. Like, she's all about this. Hayden also wants to resonate, but he seems to hate everybody. They work through their shit together, blah, blah, blah. Barbarian's Touch was, Josie was the last one. So Barbarian's Touch is the first of the ones that were in stasis. So this is the deaf representation. Okay, so Lila is the female and Rokan is the mate, the blue alien. I'm not describing these very well. Lila's deaf, and when she was abducted by aliens, both her and her sister were abducted by the original aliens that stole them. And when they were originally abducted, she had a cochlear implant, and the bad aliens removed it, so she can't hear. So she wakes up from stasis, she doesn't have her cochlear implant, and so she's deaf. Back to being deaf, where the cochlear implant helped her hear. So, of course, her sister and her speak in sign language, because her sister knows sign language. And once they are rescued and they're being taken back to the camp, after they get their quees put in, they are going back to camp. And, all the girls have, after you get your quee put in, you kind of fall into a deep sleep for like half a day. And one of the aliens, one of the blue guys, like, he's been wanting a mate so fucking bad. So he abducts Lila because he likes her the most and thinks she's cute and runs off with her. So there are 2 or 3 other aliens that are trying to find them. One of them, who is Rokan, who ends up being her love interest and not the alien who stole her, unlike another previous one. The poor thing is scared out of her mind. She can't hear. She can't communicate with him. He's trying to talk to her, but she can't hear him. And so she's trying to read his lips, which she can do, but the blue aliens, why can't I remember what they're called? They don't enunciate the same way we do. So it's hard for her to read his lips. And so I think it was really good deaf representation. I don't know. I am not hearing impaired, so I can't speak to that, but it seemed pretty well. What I loved the most is towards the end with Rokan. The Qui in her body heals. So I was hoping that it would not heal her deafness because she was born like that, from what I understand. From what I remember, she was born that way. So for the Qui, because the Qui like does super healing powers, which is nice if you get injured, whatever. The Qui also pushed out one of our main characters' IUDs at one point, stuff like that. I was hoping that it wouldn't cure her deafness. And if I remember right, it does not. It makes it a little better, but it doesn't cure it completely. What I loved is that her love interest, Rokan, went to their original ship that had input like the English language and the blue alien language into the women. That Lila sat there and taught the computer by typing sign language and the different signs. And then once she'd put everything that she thought that Rokan would need to know, the computer then input the sign language information into his head so he could sign to her. I loved that. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was a better representation. Instead of the Qui magically fixing her deafness, he found a way to learn sign language for her. That is more realistic. I like that. So I liked the representation, but yeah, I didn't remember that much more about them because I read them a while ago and I binged them super fast at the beginning of the month. So yeah, 3 stars for both. After that, I reread Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. This is reread for me, automatic 5 stars. I'm not going to go on about it. It's a book of the Ancestor trilogy. I love this. Everybody knows this. Go read it. Okay, sorry if the angle changed or if anything changed. I had to go switch out Lucas's laundry because, you know, apartment, it's coin operated. It's not in my apartment. So I have to make sure that I'm on top of it so that I don't like leaving stuff sitting. I hate going in to do laundry and people have left their shit there for hours. So I was trying to move it along. So I had to go do that, and then I offloaded the first half of this video, so like I said, mine fills up funny, and then I can't get the footage off, so I say this every fucking video, because I can't shut up and just film a short video, so I have to do it in chunks, so the angle always changes. Apologies. Next, I read Neon Gods by Katie Robert, so I decided to give Katie Robert another shot. I tried the Wicked Villain series, and I hated Desperate Measures. If you want to know what like my reaction was reading Desperate Measures, watch Cassidy's video where she reads it, like the facial expressions. I DNF'd it. She finished it. I couldn't finish it. I don't, no shame on anybody. Everybody likes their kinks. Everybody likes their thing. I cannot do daddy kink. I just cannot. And Desperate Measures, that's all it was. It's a Jafar Jasmine hookup, and I just, I can't do the daddy kink. Everything else was fine. And what I've noticed after now reading Neon Gods is that Katie Robert really likes her exhibitionism trope when it comes to smutty romance, for sure. But I enjoyed this a whole lot more. So I decided to give this a shot. A couple people were like, oh no, you probably like this better, because I really like plot with my smut. If there isn't that, I mean, unless that short like Dragon's Bride, I mean, I knew that was going to be more smut than anything else, but it was a short book. I don't want to read a 450 page book that's 99% smut, no plot. If it's like 200 pages, like Dragon's Bride was like 180 pages. If that's got more smut than plot, that's fine. That's pretty much novella length. I don't care. This was a thicker one. Everybody's like, read it, read it. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling. And lots of world building and lots of plot. There is smut, yes. And the smut is very well written and it's good. But I was like, oh, I like this one. I think I gave it 4 stars. Yes, 4 stars. I really liked it a lot and I want to continue the series. So this is Hades and Persephone retelling, like I said, and it's pretty sure it's in a fantasy world, but it's a lot like our world where the gods aren't gods. They're people, they're leaders in this city, and they are assigned like a god name, and that's what they do, and they get powers and stuff kind of based off of it, but it's not like real magic. It's kind of weird. So Zeus is the son of the previous Zeus kind of deal, and so he kind of goes into that position. And then Hades, which everybody thinks is gone, doesn't exist. You know, he was kicked out forever ago, whatever, is like over here. So Persephone is secretly, she didn't know, her mom engaged her to Zeus, and Zeus has killed what, 3 or 4 of his Heras in the past. And so she does not want to marry him, obviously, because he's a monster. He's like twice her age, and she doesn't want to die. So she's like, fuck this. So she runs away and tries to run across the river Styx, which she ends up falling or jumping in the water, I believe, or falling in the water and crossing the river Styx that way because Zeus's men are pursuing her because, you know, that's his now, or she's his now. And she gets to the other side and there's a guy staying there. She's like, help me. And he was like, I will, but you need to reach for me. You need to get to the side. I can't get out there and help you. You need to come to this side, make it on your own, and then I can help you out. And so she does, and he gets her out of the water and he yells a couple of things to the guys across the river that were chasing her, and come to find out he's Hades. She had no idea that he even existed because she was always told that he was kicked out, he was dead, or didn't exist, or that position didn't exist anymore. False. He runs like what would be considered like the bad part of town, like, and it's across the river Styx. You can't, there's a bridge, but you can only cross if he allows it, pretty much. And if you have a strong enough conviction to get across, like you have to really want to. And so he takes her to his house and pretty much is just keeping her there, being like, I'm going to corrupt Zeus's mate, or who he, you know, or Zeus's new wife, or who he wants to be his wife, like just to fuck with Zeus. So then you start learning all this backstory about what Zeus did to Hades' family and like his parents and stuff like that. And so he's very much humanized. He's not a bad guy at all. He's very much a good guy. And I just like their dynamic. I liked the way that Hades and Persephone bounced off each other. I love that she had a lot of conviction, and she had a lot of, what is it called? Why can't I think of the term? Where she can make decisions for herself. Autonomy? Where, you know, like in the original Hades Persephone story, like the original myth, she was forced to go to Hades. She never wanted to. And, you know, she would cry. And that's why, you know, the change of seasons happened and she had to go back every 6 months. Like it was very much forced for her. This was not. Everything, I mean, she could have left anytime she wanted. Originally, he was like, yeah, no. But if she really wanted to leave, he would let her go. She chose not to. She decided to stay there for a while. Their sex is really good. Hades is very much an exhibitionist when it comes to his sex life. So that's explored a little bit, or a lot of it in certain instances. But Persephone made all the choices for herself. She had a lot of consent. It was a lot of consent. She chose to be there. She wanted to be, I liked that. It wasn't, you're forced to be here, you have to stay, I'm sad because you don't love me. It was very much, you can leave whenever the fuck you want. Once they got it figured out, and once they made a deal after like day 2, she decided like, fuck this, you corrupt the fuck out of me because then he won't want me anymore. Like it was very much her choice with him. And I loved that. And I liked their romance as it developed, as they got to know each other, as he like showed her, you know, his part of the city. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. It was 4 stars. The next one is it Eros and her other sister? I can't remember. It's not Cupid. I think it's Eros and I can't remember her name. Either way, I want to continue. I got the other one, was going to start it, and then I didn't because then I slumped a little bit. But I really enjoyed Neon Gods. If you want to try Katie Robert and aren't into the daddy kink or kind of nervous, like Dragon's Bride is a little too extreme for you, I would highly suggest Neon Gods because the world building was very good. The smut was very good, but it wasn't super dominated with the smutty stuff. There was tons of world building and political machinations and all that stuff, which made it even better for me. And that's kind of fantasy romance I like. So 4 stars. Next, while I was sitting at Danielle's softball practice, I read this quick book on Kindle because it was like 80 pages and Mel made me do it. And I don't know what I read. It's called Scream for Us by Molly Doyle. This is a dark, smutty novella. That there's 2 of them. This is a Halloween one. There is a Christmas one as well, which I have on my Kindle. I just haven't read yet. How do I describe this book? So, because it's a novella, it's very, very, very dark. It's this girl who she's like a sorority girl on this college campus, goes to a Halloween party at a frat house. There's this guy that tries to sexually assault her. He like starts getting handsy with her, whatever. And this guy who is dressed like Ghostface from Scream, which I absolutely loved, steps in. She can't see his face. Steps in, tells the other guy to fuck off. but beats the ever-living shit out of him. And so then she's magically enamored with this guy and they end up dancing together and like hanging out. And she was like, oh, you know, I kind of like him, even though she can't see his face. It's like the whole mystery of him being masked and stuff like that. And she can tell that he has two friends, Jason and Michael, Friday the 13th and Halloween. You know, they're wearing the Jason mask and the Michael mask. And those are his friends. And that's all she calls them. She calls them Ghost, Michael, and Jason. Doesn't know their real names. So Ghost has been like kind of protecting her. And so he wants to take her home. And she said, I will do whatever you want with you tonight, as long as it's just for tonight. It's just for these 24 hours kind of deal, or it's just for tonight. And that's it. And then the story goes from there. It's violent, not sexually violent, but there's murder, lots of murder. Yeah, so these three guys get really offended if anybody like even touches her. And it comes out like she runs into this chick, and this chick is really mean to her. And she tells Ghost that this girl bullied her a lot in high school and made her life hell. And so he takes super offense to that and learns that they all work in this haunted house. And so he decides he's going to go in there and kill all of her bullies from high school and burn the haunted house down, while also having sex with her while the house burns down around them, where they almost don't escape themselves. It's really, really, really dark. There's murder. The sex part, like the smut part, is actually not bad. It's written rather well. It's just very much, she pretty much gives in and lets them do what they want, but it's consent. There's very much consent. It's just kind of like this whirlwind of a night. And it was good for what it was. But like, I remember texting Mel being like, what am I reading? But it was good. I gave it 3 stars, I think, or 2. I gave it 3 because it was enjoyable. I read it in like an hour. It was enjoyable for what it was. If you want something quick, smutty, and very much on the dark side, I'd say give it a try. The sex stuff is not very dark. I mean, yeah, having sex while the house around you is being caught on fire could be kind of dark. That's more like, oh, hurry up and get out. But the sex acts themselves aren't particularly dark. Wait, is there knife play? I think there was one small scene, but it wasn't, I can't remember. But most of the actual sex acts are like basic sex acts that aren't, you know, there isn't a lot of BDSM or anything that's kind of like, you know, would be considered a kink or, you know, a specialty that I can remember. Granted, I did read it in literally an hour, and that was at the beginning of the month. But yeah, 3 stars. If you want something quick and very smutty and rather dark, great for the smut den. Very quick. It's like 80 pages. There you go. Okay, next, I just want to touch on this a little bit. So The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout is book 3 of the From Blood and Ash series. I tried it again. I had originally read it when it first came out. I got about 200 pages in, got bored, and DNF'd it. I decided to give it a try. I got a little bit past where I made it before, and I have since put it down, and I think I'm going to officially DNF the series. I say this after I was super fucking determined that I was going to push through and bought Crown of Gilded Bones, the novella, or the prequel book, not the novella, the prequel book, and also book 4 on Audible, and wasted credits and money on them. And I think Mel said it best why I ended up slumping through this. Like, even Becca goes, you know, you're hating it, because she hated Gilded Bones as well. It's the middle, it's like the Sarah J. Maas Crescent City bullshit. The middle 300 to 400 pages is boring as fuck. And it's just a lot of like plodding along. And I don't know. It's just like the way Mel put it was, she's trying to do too much fantasy shit and too much world building that's just not working out, where she needs to stick to the romance part. And that the fantasy romance part was the best part. And I agree. Like in books 1 and 2, that was the best part. That was the highlight. The action parts were great that were in there, but she's trying to do so much like outside world building, and like really, I was just like kind of lost and bored. I'm like, okay, like the plot's not even moving. we're just sitting in this one spot and we're talking about all this world building shit and world shit, which is great. We need to know this. But at the same time, like, why are we here? It was one of those where I just kind of got frustrated. So I think this is going to be an official DNF for the series, which really bumps me out because I loved book 1 and 2 a lot. And I know there are people who love this. And I almost just want a chunk of book 4 where the big thing that it pissed everybody off. But I also want to read because I'm sure the smut will be good because she writes decent smut. Decent smut, but not as good as other people because she uses weird terms. Like she uses like the velvet covered steel instead of just saying penis or dick or cock. Like use real words. I am an adult. I am not a young adult. I am almost 40 fucking years old. We'll be 40 in 2 years. I understand what a penis is. I have 2 kids. You can use the word. Okay? Like I've obviously had sex before. I have 2 children. I've had sex at least twice in my life. I understand how it works. You don't need to use weird terms for body parts. To me, it's, I don't know, sexier or better if you use actual terms, like real terms. Me hearing velvet covered steel or her, what is it? Her core. What else do they use for vagina? Usually her core, her center. It's just like, ugh. Say vagina, say pussy, say anything say what it is. To me, when you say her core, I think abdominal muscles because you hear like core training and strength training. That's like your abdominal muscles. I don't think of my vagina when you say her core. I'm like, why is he shoving his penis into her belly button? Is he blind? Does he not see? Is she just being an idiot? Does he not? That's where my mind goes. It totally takes me out of the story. So I appreciate people like Katie Robert and Sophie Lark and more, who do write fantasy romance like books, but they use proper terminology like for body parts. I appreciate that. That makes me, and it doesn't pull me out of the smut. When you use weird terms like that, I get pulled out of the smut. It makes me laugh and go, oh my God, this is embarrassing. Because if you were to say this out loud, like if you're having sex with somebody and they go, oh baby, I'm going to slip my velvet covered steel into your core, I would laugh and be like, get the fuck off me. Like, get out. Like, absolutely not. Like, that is not how you dirty talk. Like, I don't know. It's like, are you trying to protect people who are younger? Because young people, like, know way more than I did at that age. Like, with the internet and TikTok and all that shit. Like, my 14-year-old, the shit that she knows that's come out of her mouth, I'm like, ma'am. Like, she knows shit. So, just saying, like, I went on a little bit of a rant, but yeah, I'm DNFing from the rest of the Blood and Ash series. I just can't do it. That's it. Okay, now we're getting into like the big heavy stuff. I'm going to try to get through this really fucking quick because this is 5 books, all of the same series that I binged all in a row. And it's the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark that starts with Brutal Prince. This is a mafia dark romance series that all intertwines with some of her other series. So this is Callum and Ada's story. So the whole premise of this series, so you have Brutal Prince, which this was a gift from Melissa. Thank you, Melissa. Then you have Stolen Heir, Savage Lover, Bloody Heart, Broken Vow, and then Heavy Crown, which I finished in May. But they all follow a child of one of these mafia families. So you have the Irish and Italian. So you have the Gallows and the Griffins. The Griffins are Italian or Irish, Gallows or Griffin. There's the 2 patriarchs and they have their children. And each one of these books is one of their children getting with somebody else, either somebody else from another mob family or whatever. Like Callum is a Griffin. He's from the Irish mob. Ada is a Gallo from the Italian mob. She starts one of their rooms on fire on accident when her and her brother decide to crash a party. And the only way to fix this is if their parents arrange them for them to get married. So this is an arranged marriage trope. Enemies to lovers, arranged marriage. I really love Callum and Ada. Their banter is really great. Ada's very much a firecracker and Callum is more like even keel and they balance each other out really well. This one was my first 5-star book of the year. I really, really loved this. I know there was something about it. I love the plot. I love the mafia stuff going on because there's all this other world building with all the other mafias and like how they all interact and know each other and people come in and out of each book. And so you have to read them in order. I really, really enjoyed it. And it was there was a lot of action and intrigue and like stuff happening behind the scenes, but then also the smut was really good and their romance was really good. First 5-star of the year. None of the other books made quite 5 stars for me, but this, I don't know if this, because this was the first one, but I love this one. Okay, Stolen Heir, which is book 2, which I think I gave 4. Yes, I gave 4 stars. Stolen Heir is Mikolaj and why can't I think of her name? This is Mikolaj and Nessa. Nessa is a Griffin daughter. She's the youngest and the only girl, and Mikolaj is from the Polish mafia, and something that happened in book 1 makes him decide he's going to kidnap Nessa. This is a Beauty and Beast retelling, and kidnaps Nessa, throws her in his big mansion and locks her away, but allows her to move around. And she's a dancer. He's very hardened from Poland. Like, he lived a very hard life. Very much a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I really liked them together. I really liked Mikolaj, and I liked his background and like his inner monologue. I really liked it a lot. Nessa was like, okay, you know, she was not bad, but I did like the romance. I thought it was really sweet, like her melting him pretty much. So this was good. 4 stars. Next is Savage Lover. This is Nero and Camille. Nero is one of the Gallo brothers. He's kind of described as reckless and crazy, and so he's Italian mafia. Like, he's just crazy out there, loves cars, kind of whatever. And Camille is not part of the mob. She comes from a family that doesn't make a lot of money. Her dad is dying of cancer. She is a mechanic. She does all this stuff, and so they kind of end up bonding. I don't remember what this is called. Like, what kind of romance? Oh, it's a heist. It's a heist romance. That's what it is. There is a heist in here. I liked Nero and Camille together. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite. I've heard this one is considered one of her weakest in the series, and I would have to agree. It's not as gripping as the other ones. It's kind of like Nero and Camille's story took place over here, while the rest of the plot of all the other ones took place over here. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it, but it was only 3 stars. They're not my favorite couple. So next is my favorite one, Bloody Heart. This is Dante and Simone. Dante is the oldest Gallo brother, so oldest of the Italian mob. And this is a second chance romance. Simone was when he was 21, the love of his life. And all of a sudden she disappeared for 9 years and then came back. So this is their second chance romance. My only gripe about this one is the fucking cover. They made Dante look way too old. Dante in this book is 30. Does this man look like he's 30? No, he looks like he's 45. He's an attractive man, but he looks to be 45, not 30. That kind of irritated me. They kind of jaded Dante on that one. But I love Dante. Dante's very much, he's jaded. When Simone left, it totally broke him. He didn't really date anybody else. I live by a naval base. Can we not? Time's running out. Okay, so where was I? So Dante has slept with some girls, but he's never really dated anybody since then. And so then Simone shows back up in Chicago. I forgot all of these take place in Chicago. She shows back up in Chicago, and then their story happens. I really like Dante. I really liked him a lot. I don't know, there's just something about him. I just really liked him. Simone was, I didn't really like her as much, but I really liked Dante. But I still think this was my favorite. I just like the way the second chance romance happened. I don't know. I just liked it. Usually I'm not a fan of second chance romance, but this one worked out for me. This one was only 4 stars though. It was not quite a 5. And then the last book I read in the month of April was Broken Vow. So Broken Vow is book 5, the last book I read in April. This is Riona and Raylan's romance. Riona is the oldest Griffin daughter, and she is a lawyer and somebody's trying to kill her. So Dante's best friend, Rylan, I think it's pronounced Rylan. Rylan, who was in the military with Dante and best friends, like good bodyguard, takes her to his farm out in the middle of nowhere. I think it's Tennessee. Takes her out to the ranch to protect her and hide her because somebody's tried to kill her twice. So this is a bodyguard romance. A lot of people seem to love this one. It was okay. I didn't like Riona, I think is my problem. I really liked Raylan. I thought that he's very much a Southern boy, really cares about her, stuff like that. I just didn't like Riona, I don't think, because she's one of those ones where it's like, nobody could like me. Like, I don't really, I mean, I understand her. She's very career driven. She's always wanted to like run like their business and stuff like that. She's very career driven, but I don't know, this one was only 3 for me. It wasn't terrible. I think I gave it 3. I'm pretty sure. It wasn't terrible. Yeah, only 3, but I wasn't a fan of Riona. And when you find out like who was trying to kill her, I'm like, and nobody else figured this shit out. Like, I don't know. Wasn't my favorite, but it is a very good bodyguard romance. I enjoyed it. And I am now Sophie Lark trash. And if you want to blame anybody, you can blame Rye, because it's all her fault. Okay, guys, that's it. That is my April wrap-up. Sorry it was kind of all over the place. Sorry it was kind of discombobulated and jumbled and angles changed, and it's pretty typical. This is my chaos, and I'm sorry. But the Smut Den starts tonight. Please join us if you can. Hopefully I can get this up today so that this is even relevant. But yeah, Smut Den runs today through Sunday, so come join us if you can. It's going to be a good time. You know, of course, this doesn't help me with, you know, reading something other than smut, but here we are, since I didn't read a whole bunch of stuff I was supposed to read last month. I'm sorry again that this was late. I got busy. I do my best, but it's coming. You're getting it. It's finally filmed. But that's it, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you read in the month of April. I'm sorry, this is all romance. If you got any good recs, let me know. I'm curious to see what everybody's read, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.